Oh, look, there she is. Gorgeous as always. The hair, I'm loving.
Hi, Ross. Hi, everybody.
So I was saying, like, you're kind of my favorite person to do this with because we're both like total perfume addicts, right? I also saw some other people saying perfume addict in the chat. And it's the perfect day, right? It's National Fragrance Day. So I thought,
National Fragrance Day, Ross.
Happy
Honestly, you know, when you told me about Macy's, like destination for all things fragrances, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then Maison Margiela, you make fragrance so easy for me. And just like, I cannot even say how many compliments I get for, you know, how my home smells. Like, we'll get into that, and like the fragrances that I wear. So I was so excited to join you guys today and talk all things fragrance with you and the Macy's team.
And I think that we should maybe start off and talk a little bit about like sort of the power of scent and like what is your first scent memory that you can remember? Like, what is the first memory that you have of fragrance, or maybe something that your mom wore?
Yeah, you know, honestly, it actually goes back to like my grandmother. So, you know, I know when we started the chat, you're like, everyone, tell me where you're from. I'm from Houston, Texas. Soy mexicana. Like, I love all things sweets. And I just remember my grandmother always having like a pan dulce, like something super sweet as like a dessert, whether it was in the morning or nighttime. And so this kind of like vanilla scent, whether it was like our home or like what we were eating, even her fragrances were the same. And I kind of found that like as I got older, I gravitated towards those like sweeter scents. And I think it just reminds me of like home. It just reminds me of like my grandma and like, you know, all those fun times when we were little. What about you?
So, well, you know, perfect that we're talking about Replica, because the concept of this brand is really all about evoking memories, right? And your sense of smell is the number one way that, you know, number one out of all five of your senses that is really stimulated by, you know, your sense of smell triggers memories. Every time you smell something, you're activating the amygdala, the cerebellum, not to be like a science teacher, but like all of the parts of your brain that really sort of regulate and house where your memory receptors are. And I mean, I remember from like a very young age, loving perfume and wanting to always wear fragrance. My mom actually was a department manager at Macy's in New Jersey.
Really?
So like, yeah, and men's fragrance for a long time. So I used to always beg her for fragrance. I'd be like, Mom, please, please. And she'd be like, you're too young. And finally, when I was in 5th grade, I was 11. She gave me my first fragrance, and I thought I was like, it was Dracar Noir. And I was like the coolest kid on the Jersey Shore with like popped collar, like walking. Meanwhile, I was probably wearing so much of it that I was knocking out my teachers. But also, like, growing up on the beach, I always loved the smell of the ocean and the smell of the beach. It was like my favorite thing. Every time I smell it, it brings me back to childhood and being like a little surfer kid and like, you know, hanging out in the ocean. So I always like to, that kind of brings me to one of my favorite fragrances, which I feel like we should jump right into. And I know it's one of yours as well, which is Beach Walk.
Beach Walk. Now, fun fact, Ross, about you is that you've lived on both coasts, right? Like, East Coast, West Coast, and it doesn't matter. Like, Beach Walk is one of those fragrances that I smell on you often, whether we're like training or we're going to the airport. Like, tell us why you love Beach Walk so much.
So for me, it's like vacation in a bottle. I like to say all the time. I mean, it literally reminds me of like whenever I need to like escape, it's like this fragrance does it for me. And it, you know, one of the things that I love about Maison Margiela is that we're known for being very sort of disruptive and doing things in a subversive way. So instead of just throwing notes in something to make it smell good, we actually use these things called sensations. So we dissect the fragrance and then reconfigure it. So you're getting different facets of a scent note. So this actually has like coconut and some like white musk in there, which literally it gives you that vibe of sunscreen, right? When you smell it, doesn't it smell exactly like sunscreen initially?
Absolutely. And you know what's so funny too is that like even if I'm not going, whether it's like the summertime or like at a vacation, I still gravitate towards this one. It's something about it being like calming, relaxing. Maybe it's like the countdown to your next vacation, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's just it's one of those fragrances that I think layers so beautifully too. But you know, and I think what's great about all of these fragrances that maybe we didn't share is that they're also unisex, right? Because
Yep.
sometimes it's like, what's the fragrance for her or for him? But really, this is like for
Yep.
them. This is one of those fragrances that to me, it just kind of like calms, relaxes me. So if I already know my day is going to be a little bit kind of crazy or chaotic,
Yep.
you know, if you're in Houston, you know, it's pouring down rain today. This is definitely the fragrance that I started my day with today.
And they also say, like, every time you go on vacation or you have a big life moment, like you're getting married. So shout out
Yeah.
to all those brides and grooms out there. Like, you should always get a new scent because every time you smell it, it will remind you of that life moment. You know, it's
I love that. You know, anyone here on the chat, like, have you worn maybe your favorite fragrance? Doesn't matter if it's not Maison Margiela, like, be
yeah,
any fragrance, whether it's like specifically for your birthday or anniversary, or maybe you were celebrating something fun. Like Ross, I know you and I love to go through the chat
yep.
afterwards too, and like see everything. So if you have any questions, you guys, throughout this live, like please feel free to ask away. Like I will try to help as much as possible go through our chat. But if you've worn a fragrance for a specific occasion, whether it was like to celebrate something or make yourself feel good, I'd love to know. And I know Ross, you would
Yeah.
too. And that reminds me specifically of like the next fragrance, which is, you know, By the Fireplace. This is one of those fragrances that, you know, to be just completely honest, wasn't something that I gravitated towards initially. But the
Yeah.
more that I smell it, especially when you gave me the trick of layering, which I'll let you share, this is one of those fragrances that now like I want everywhere. I want it, like I want to wear it. I want my husband to wear it. I want
Yep.
it in a candle. I want all the things. So tell us, how do you layer By the Fireplace?
So my little trick for layering, and you can do it a couple different ways, right? So like this is one of my go-tos. So it has a lot of wood notes in it, right?
Wow.
Like these like beautiful sort of like smoked wood notes. So what I say all the time is like, because that's a base note for so many fragrances, you can really wear it with like anything, right? Just to
Right.
give it some depth and some seduction. I know that me and you both kind of layer things different ways also. So like I like to sometimes just go right in there and do both of them right on. Sometimes I like to layer one and then wear it during the day. And then when I'm going out at night, wear something a little bit deeper and sexier to kind of zhuzh up my daytime scent,
Yeah.
which I know is one of your favorite methods.
Absolutely.
And then I also love to layer scent in home. So one
Yes.
of my favorite things to layer is By the Fireplace and Beach Walk. So I burn the Beach Vibes candle, or the Beach Walk have the diffuser out, and I burn the candle, and I call it Beach Bonfire because it makes my house. Because you're smelling that kind of beachiness from like the
Yeah.
bergamot and the ylang ylang, which I know is one of your favorite ingredients.
Super
Uh,
favorite. I love that like kind of solar
yep,
floral, and you're so right. This is actually the layering tip that you gave me. You're like, okay, Brittany, if you want something a little bit more, you know, moody, and I also saw that Abraham in the chat said that you do the same thing. You like to layer those like woody fragrances to just give you like that more like moody, maybe like nighttime feel.
yeah,
But you were like, Brittany, if you want something that's maybe a little bit more approachable, layering it with Beach Walk, which you wear all the time, but then at night, you know, putting on top By the Fireplace. And when you gave me that whole like, you know, bonfire at the beach kind of feel, I'm like, okay, this is something that I absolutely love, but it also just creates kind of that like seductive, almost like sophisticated feel to that fragrance that is worn every single day.
yeah.
And I love that you mentioned it's also in a candle, because this is the candle that I do actually burn at all times, like kitchen or living room or anything like that. It's just so welcoming to anyone that comes over too.
And they're super fragrant even when they're not lit too, which is
Mm-hmm.
love. But I say it's like, if you don't have, like, I had a fire, ironically enough, when I was in LA when it was super warm, I had a fireplace, and now that I'm back in an apartment in Brooklyn, I do not have one. But like lighting this candle, it's like having like a portable fireplace in your home, or like a pop-up fireplace.
Yeah.
So super beautiful. I will tell you that one of my favorite fragrances, I know it's one of your favorites, and I know you're sort of obsessed with the lotion, but like the another one that's really great to layer with by the fireplace is Lazy Sunday Morning.
So good. So, so good. Now, lazy Sunday morning, I feel like this kind of took a whole new term, especially like during COVID, post COVID, like all the things where now it's like Netflix and chill,
Yeah.
right? Or it's like, you know, you just want to like snuggle up. Even when you go to a really nice hotel and they give you those robes and you're just kind of like snuggled in, but you can smell all of those scents too. It just is a whole different mood booster. And like I love that you actually gifted me the diffuser, and I was so excited because I had not seen the Maison Margiela diffusers at all.
Yeah.
Like I had been a huge fan of the candles, but when you gifted me the diffuser, it changed the whole game because sometimes you forget about your candles, and like the diffuser is a really nice way to have something constant at all times.
Yep.
And just like throughout the house, but it's also something really clean.
Super clean, and it's great. I know you have two little ones at home, so like it's also great if you have like a cat or kids when you want a flameless option.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4.5 months of always on self like scent diffusion, which is pretty incredible. And this one specifically we were sold out of for like 2 months.
Wow.
We could not keep it in stock. You know, it smells, it's inspired by, you know, sleeping in on expensive Italian linens in like Florence, Italy. Like who doesn't love that, right?
Yeah.
It's and the scent makes your whole house smell like you just did laundry. So I say all the time, like, if you don't feel like doing laundry, you could just like kick it under the bed and then light the candle or put out the diffuser and it smells like you did, you know?
That is so funny. You know, is this, and I actually had someone like in the chat when we were, you know, mentioning this, is this something that you would even put like in a laundry room? Like, absolutely, right? It's something that just amplifies that whole fresh linen, just like fresh home scent. I think there's nothing better than like going on vacation and coming home to a clean house. Like, I don't know about you. I know we were talking about this like at the airport where, you know, like you pack before and you also like clean before. So when you come home, you can just like unwind, kind of like chill a little bit. Someone's laughing at your kick the laundry out of the way. I'm like,
listen, sometimes you don't have time to do it, right? So.
Absolutely. But if you do, and if you're kind of like one of those like neat freaks like I am, and you want to have like that clean home when you come back, it just like amplifies that smell as soon as you open the door and you're like, oh, it's a clean house. It smells so good. So love, love, love your diffuser option. And then you also talked about, which I didn't even know this either, was the lotion, right? Like our like ancillary. So do you want to talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah. So both of them are like our lotion and our shower gel. We have them in like 2 scents. So Sailing Day and Lazy Sunday Morning, which are definitely globally 2 of our most popular fragrances, both super clean. I actually wear Sailing Day to the gym, which people always are like, you wear fragrance to the gym? And I'm like, yeah, I'm single. You don't know who's going to be on the treadmill next to you. I want to smell good, right? So but I know that you were mentioning when you first tried it on, you were like, this is like almost like the best version of your own skin. And it's part of the reason why I love it is like, that's why they're so popular. I mean, we sell it to tons of people in like the medical field, like doctors, like people that are, you know, teachers that maybe want to smell really beautiful, but they don't want their fragrance to like enter the room before they do. And that fragrance, Lazy Sunday Morning, I say it's almost like the no makeup equivalent of fragrance, or like a skin enhancing scent, which is, you know, it's such like an easy one to wear every day. And maybe you don't want to layer 2 fragrances, but you can also layer with lotion, right? So like fragrance adheres better to hydrated skin. So you should always make sure your skin is hydrated and you're using lotion prior to putting on a scent. And this is a great way to sort of layer the scent at the same time.
I'm sorry, but that was such a good tip that I like had to replay in my head. I don't know if like everyone caught that, but you said like no makeup, just the same way as this would be like no makeup, but the scent version for that. I love, love, love that, because you're so right. There's a lot of people maybe that are like, you know, just a little sensitive to fragrance, or they're in a field where they don't want their fragrance to be overpowering, but you still want to enjoy fragrance because, you know, I think it might be easy for you and I, Ross, to maybe appreciate fragrances because we're always like at a restaurant or, you know, like at a book club or wherever, we're like trying to smell what's happening. But if you think about it, scent is around us everywhere, at the grocery store, just like anywhere, right? Like you pick up these fragrances. So even if you still want to enjoy your fragrance, but maybe don't want something that's overpowering, this is a great collection for you too. Or maybe you're meeting someone new for the first time and you don't know, what is their likes or dislikes. All of these fragrances, to your point, are just like so just natural, but remind you of other things that are in your day-to-day life. And I love
Yeah.
that.
I mean, that's what I mean. They're all inspired by like a specific time and place and moment, and then like deconstructed and reconstructed into something else. But what I love about it is like they're all memories that like are really universal that anybody can relate to,
Yeah.
right? Like we all know what it's like to sit in front of a fire, whether it's a bonfire or a fire in a cabin, you know what I mean? Bonfire on the beach. We all know what it's like to go on vacation at some point,
Yeah.
and it could be any beach. It could be like a beach in Chicago by a lake, or it could be a beach in Tulum. But it's just a way of sort of creating that custom moment.
Absolutely. Now, I was not familiar though with a jazz club. Like I have to kind of out myself a little bit here. I've not been to a jazz club before until this. And then specifically in New Orleans, I was like, okay, I need to go on the hunt for a good jazz club. Can you tell us a little bit of like why this fragrance is so popular and does so well? Maybe if you're not familiar with a jazz club like I wasn't beforehand.
Yes, it is like kind of the best going out scent, right? It was inspired by a speakeasy in Brooklyn. So I love to say like it's kind of like my standard like going out. And I will say that we did get a huge nod from Vogue. They said it was like the fragrance the coolest guys in New York wear, which I was like, who told them I'm wearing it? Like but yeah, it's inspired by a speakeasy. It has like rum, those sort of gourmand notes, but in a very sort of like sexy way at the same time. So there's rum in there. You have like Costa Rican tobacco leaf as well.
So good. So good. And I will say too that this one, like you're right. It's one of those kind of more sophisticated. You think of like nighttime, special occasion. It's definitely a head turner for sure. And I know that when you wear this in stores, specifically like at events and things, this is the one that people are maybe just a little bit more intrigued and want to know more about because it's not something that you're as familiar with on a day to day. Like Lazy Sunday, we know what laundry smells like, right? Like
Yep.
hopefully you've all seen a beach before, you know what beach walk is. But this is one of those fragrances that can amplify the other ones. And to your point earlier about like layering, this is one of those that can just take something from like day to night or from daily use to like special occasion too.
Yeah, we even had people that were talking about layering this one as well, right? So some
Mhm.
people were giving some love in the chat to this one. So this one is so great, even with like, if you want to layer it with like by the fireplace, you want something that's like a little smokier and deeper. And that actually brings me to like one of my favorites, which is also a gourmand, which we know gourmands are like on fire right now. There's a little
Yes.
by the fireplace pun. But it is Coffee Break.
Yes.
And this fragrance, I have to tell you, layers with almost all of our fragrances. It smells incredible with By the Fireplace.
Yeah.
It smells incredible with Jazz Club. And it smells ironically incredible with Lazy Sunday Morning. We like to call it breakfast in bed. So
I like that. Coffee break reminds me of like that little pick me up. I don't know, maybe everyone in the chat, if you've had that moment where you're either at work or maybe you're on your way somewhere and you're like, okay, I have to stop and get my coffee, or maybe if it's even like at home, like I have to have my Keurig, I have to have my coffee, I have to have it in the morning with the same creamer. This is that, like it starts your day, or midday, it just creates like a whole pick me up moment where like everyone is now excited, you're re-energized, you're doing that.
yep.
This is one of those fragrances that when we were kind of going through them together, we joked about putting this by our laptops because it's one of those like, okay, you got your second coffee of the day and now you're going to get like your second fragrance of the day to just like re-energize yourself. And I like laughed so hard from that, but also still, Ross, it's been by my laptop like ever since. So
I know. Well, it's super like comforting and warm. I mean, it's like inspired by a coffee shop you know, it's inspired by a coffee shop in Stockholm. And like, but that feeling of like being cozy and like sitting inside and having like a beautiful latte.
Yeah. And Melissa's saying it's like that special little Starbucks in the car on the way somewhere. That's actually a really good tip. So just, you know, like maybe this is one of those fragrances where you keep in your car, right? Like you keep in your car or you keep in your purse and you're like, okay, I'm going somewhere else. You know, how can I like amplify my fragrance from this morning? I love that. Proverbs Heart says, love a coffee shop vibe. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying hello. Hi, everyone.
It's like just think of it as like the caffeine of fragrance, right?
Yeah. No, the
And
caffeine fragrance is so good. I love that. And what's your personal favorite, Ross? Like, what's your personal favorite layering with Maison Margiela?
I don't know. It's like asking my favorite child.
No, maybe
I know.
sometimes.
It's like also it's like does not help. I have like so many that I love. Right now I definitely was wearing Autumn Vibes a lot.
Okay.
I love Sailing Day, like for the gym and in the summer when it's really hot. That's
Yeah.
like my kind of skin enhancing scent or like my no makeup like men's scent.
Yeah.
I love Jazz Club. I actually love Jazz Club. I've been carrying the little guy around with me.
Yeah.
And we actually sell. So I know that they're very close to being sold out. So click on that link because we don't have a lot left. But this refill is like $250 value and it's only $170. So you're basically getting two 30 mLs for free with this size.
So good.
And I always carry this one with me just in case I go out because I just think it's kind of gives that like extra little like sexy kind of smoky quality to anything that it touches, right?
Yeah.
I know your husband loves that one too.
Absolutely. And like it's one of those that I continue to stock again. So like the refill is like absolutely necessary. And to your point, like we do have some of the links that have been dropped here as well. So, you know, if you were listening throughout the live and you want to select something, be sure to go scroll back up. You can look at the links here. We can reshare them as well. I will say that my favorite is what you shared with me, like when you were doing, which I love, kind of like a personality assessment and like a memory lane with me of like, Brittany, what makes you the happiest? What makes you feel like yourself? And there were two things that I cannot do without. One is a good out of office email response, right? So beach walk. And then the second, you know, but it's always coffee. And it's like literally I have brown like everywhere, you know, just always with me. I love earth tones. And so having that beach walk with the coffee break together, that's my go-to. That's my mood booster. It's what makes me enjoy fragrances. It's just like, yeah, I think it's just one of those things. So ask yourself throughout this collection, you know, what's your personality? Maybe what's your memory? I think, you know, Ross, you made fragrances so enjoyable and so easy for not only myself, but I know anytime that we're in store and doing events and trainings, like this is just a really fun collection to be a part of and to make fragrance, you know, memories part of your everyday.
Yep, it's beautiful. And it's a full collection. So there's so many different scent memories to choose from.
Yeah.
So, and with that, it is like, I'm very, you know, it has been amazing spending Fragrance Day with you all, right? Happy National Fragrance Day. Hopefully you find many different fragrances from many brands that you love. I'm a, you know, I have 172, which is like a slight, I'm quite a collector. But I like to wear things for different moments, right? Because like you don't wear the same outfit every day. You don't feel the same way all the time. So for that reason, you want to wear different things for different moments of life. And that's the beautiful thing about a collection brand. So I definitely have a couple favorites, but I love to kind of shake it up. And layering is also an amazing way to kind of create your own custom scent. It makes it more personal to you. And it also gives you 3 fragrances out of 2. So it extends your fragrance wardrobe also.
I love that. You know, I love some good savings and I love some good math. And I think with, you know, the home collection too, it's one of those where sometimes like if fragrance isn't that easy to navigate and you're kind of curious if maybe some scents will clash or they won't do well, you know, all together. I think this collection makes it so easy where you know that the layering piece is there, right?
Yep.
But also like extended beyond just yourself or maybe your family, your spouse, or etc. Like the rest of your home can have the same feel as well, whether it's a candle, it's a diffuser, or you continue that scent, you know, creation with your lotions as well. So Maison Margiela, definitely one of those collection brands that you want to be a part of. I know you said you have like 172 fragrances. I need to count mine because I am strategically in my fragrance room facing this wall because over there's a lot of fragrances too. So yeah, thank you guys so much. If you have
Thank
any
you guys.
questions, like please feel free to put them in the chat. Again, happy National Fragrance Day.
Happy
And
National Fragrance
so
Day.
much Macy's and Ross for having us.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And remember, Macy's is your fragrance destination. They have every single fragrance you can desire. So, and you know, check out Maison Margiela because there are so many different scent memories and so many different combinations that you can create to make your own custom scent memory.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I love it. I love seeing the hearts in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Go
everyone.
try Replica.
Go experience Replica.